Hello friends at home. In this video, I will be going over today's religion test with you. Your friends are here in the room with me. However, they are not going to say hello because they are working on being as quiet as ninjas because this is a test and we don't talk during a test. So I told the boys and girls here that this test does look a little different than the tests we've taken so far. And that's because it is our unit test. I've been telling you all week it covers chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's like a review of everything we've already learned. So I have a feeling you're going to do great on this. I'm not worried. You shouldn't be either. But the first thing you should do is put your name at the top of your paper. So kids in the classroom, if you have not already, please put your name. And kids at home, make sure you get your name on there as well. All right, so we're starting on this side of the paper. It has these 4 picture windows on it. If you don't see those windows, you need to flip your paper over because chances are if you don't see them, you're on the wrong side. So the directions for this side say, write the number of each sentence in the top of the church window with the missing word. So you remember when we did our reviewing for this test, we were coloring in with different colors the tops of the windows, Lillian. Now we are going to be writing a number instead of coloring, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is read you the words in these stained glass windows. And after I read you the words, then I will read you each of the sentences. And when you decide which word fits in that sentence, you'll put that number in the window. Okay, so first let me tell you what the windows say. This window says Mass. This one says Church. This one says Praise. And this one says Bible. Now I'll go up here to number 1. And number 1 says, a community of Jesus's followers is the Catholic blank. If you think a community of Jesus' followers is the Catholic Mass, then put a 1 in this window. If you think a community of Jesus' followers is the Catholic Church, then put a 1 in this window. If you think a community of Jesus' followers is the Catholic Praise, put a 1 in this window. And if you think the community of Jesus' followers is the Catholic Bible, put a 1 in the top of this window. And now we will move on to the second sentence. Number 2 says, Jesus is with us when we gather to celebrate blank. Is Jesus with us when we gather to celebrate Mass? If he is, put a 2 in this box. Jesus is with us when we gather to celebrate church. Put a 2 in this box. Jesus is with us when we gather to celebrate praise. Put a 2 in this box. Or Jesus is with us when we gather to celebrate Bible. Put a 2 in this box. Remember, we're choosing the best answer to complete the sentence. So even if you feel like it could be more than 1, choose the best choice. Number 3 says the blank is the written word of God. If you think the Mass is the written word of God, put a 3 in this box. If you think the church is the written word of God, put a 3 in this box. If you think the praise is the written word of God, put a 3 in this box. And if you think the Bible is the written word of God, put a 3 in this box. And the last one, number 4, says, prayers of blank celebrate God's goodness. Do prayers of Mass celebrate God's goodness? Prayers of church, prayers of praise, or prayers of Bible? If you think prayers of Mass celebrate God's goodness, put your 4 in this window or box. If you think prayers of church celebrate God's goodness, put your 4 in this window box. If you think prayers of praise celebrate God's goodness, put a 4 in this window box. And if you think prayers of Bible celebrate God's goodness, Put a 4 in this window box. And now you should have a number in all 4 windows. And now we will move on to the top of the other side of this page. For this top part, it says circle the words that best complete the sentences. So I will read you the sentence, and then I will read you the 2 choices, and you will circle the best answer. Okay? Remember, sometimes you might feel like it could be both. Pick the one that's the better answer. Okay? So number 1 says, Jesus said that he is blank. Did Jesus say he is the good shepherd? Or did Jesus say he is from Africa? If you think Jesus said, I am the good shepherd, circle the good shepherd. If you think Jesus said, I am from Africa, circle from Africa. Number 2 on this side says, listening and talking to God is called blank. Is listening and talking to God called prayer? Or is listening and talking to God called the Mass? If you think listening and talking to God is called prayer, circle this one, prayer. And if you think listening and talking to God is called the Mass, circle this one that says the Mass. Question number 3 says, a group of Catholics who belong to the same church community is called a family or a parish. If you think a group of Catholics who belong to the same church community is called a family, circle this one. And if you think a group of Catholics who belong to the same church community is called a parish, circle this one. And number 4 says, reading the Bible helped blank change his life. Who had the rotten scoundrel life? And then they read the Bible and it changed everything. Was that Philip or was that Augustine? If you think it was Philip, circle this one. If you think it was Augustine, circle this one. And when you are finished, we're going to come back to this one so you can take your time on it. So go ahead and flip. If you flip from the bottom up, then you'll be on the other side. And we're going to start here on this side where we have the completing the sentence with the words from the box, okay? So the words in the box say cross, pray, love, God. And I'm going to go through and I'll read each sentence and you will choose the best answer from the box and write it on the line. Did you have a question, Ava June? You got your hand? Okay. All right. So number 1 says, we listen to the word of blank at Mass. Do we listen to the word of cross, the word of pray, the word of love, or the word of God? Choose the best answer and write that word on this line. What's up, Lillian? Yeah, this one says cross. This one says pray. This one says love. And this one says God. We listen to the word of blank at Mass. All right. Sentence number 2 says, we make the sign of the blank to show that we belong to the Catholic Church. Do we make the sign of the cross, the sign of the pray, the sign of the love, or the sign of the God? What do we make to show other people we belong to the Catholic Church? Do you have a question, Emma? Yeah, this one says cross. This one says pray. This one says love. And this one says God. So do we make the sign of the cross, the sign of the pray, the sign of the love, or the sign of the God? Choose the correct word and write it on the line. All right, number 3 says, the Bible teaches us about God's blank. Does the Bible teach us about God's cross, God's pray, God's love, or God's God? The Bible teaches us about God's cross. The Bible teaches us about God's pray. The Bible teaches us about God's love,
or the Bible teaches us about God's God? Now, if you've been crossing them off as you go, this last one should be a gimme for you, but just in case, I'm going to read through it for you. Number 4 says, we can blank to God anywhere and anytime. We can cross to God anywhere, anytime. We can pray to God anywhere, anytime. We can love to God anywhere, anytime. Or we can God to God anywhere, anytime. Choose the best answer and write it on the line. What's up, Lily? Number 3 says the Bible teaches us about God's blank. Does it teach us about God's cross, God's pray, God's love, or God's God? Now you have 3 pictures that you need to draw or write for me. On this side, these 2 boxes, in the top one, it says, some things in our parish church help us pray. Draw or write about some things in our parish church that help us to pray. What thing could you use to help you pray? Don't tell me, write it down. I remember. Okay. And then in this box, it says followers of Jesus love and care for others. So you're going to draw or write something about the followers of Jesus loving and caring for others. So here, draw something that helps you pray. Here, draw someone showing Jesus' love and care for others. Then don't forget to flip back, and it says draw a picture of you and your family at church. So this one, you need to draw you and your family sitting in church. Okay. Cross. Maybe the big pipe organ. Okay, we got the priest.
Wait, what do you do on this?
This one you draw you and your family in church.
And,
this one you draw something that helps you pray. And this one you draw how Jesus' followers can show love and care for others. Friends at home, when you are done with this, make sure you take a picture of both sides of it and upload it for me. If you want to color these pictures, you may. And friends in the classroom, as soon as you are finished, it goes in the green basket. Bye, friends at home.